Hey pack leaders, I want to do this video to talk about the temptation. The temptation is real. I even fall for it sometimes, and I'm like, I know I shouldn't have done this, and I was like, and I'm like making excuses like, oh, I'm just testing my stuff and whatever, right? Fact is, I got caught up on top. Okay, so it was like right around here. Like it came down. I was like, oh, it started putting a lot of green. So like, oh, I think it's gonna keep going up. So as soon as I think it's gonna keep on going up, I was like, yeah, I should take a step back. Like I'm pretty sure that a lot more people are thinking the same thing too. Especially when you know it's already climbed up this far already, and this is kind of like the top area. And I was already kind of waiting it for it to come back down. And I was sitting there with very low position. I think I only had like 400 contracts. And I ended up loading it up right around there at the high, thinking I was going to continue going up because I saw a bunch of these green candles going. I was like, it's going to pop them up. But then, so yeah. So once you get to the top, you're taking profit, all this other stuff, it's probably best to take profit and shut down the bot for the day. Or you set your rungs out to the bottom and just, don't worry about it. So I would have been in a better position here. I would have DCA'd in right here. I would have been in profit already. My profit line might have been like right there. So I could at least, start DCing back up, and it keeps going down. DC back in. But my profit line would have been a lot more lower. Anybody bought $100 to $200. About $200. So now I gotta wait for it to come back up. Alright, which, kind of sucks, right? And so yeah, sometimes we think that it's gonna keep going up, but it really doesn't. So be careful for that. Once you get up to here and you're taking profit, try not to be tempted to load up too much at the top. Okay, because it could totally slam down real hard and keep going or whatever, and take you out on your liquidation when you could have handled it, because if you didn't make this one little mistake up here. Okay, so hopefully it turns out right. I'm gonna stay in it or DCA the rest of it. I still got some margin left over to do so, and go from there. Okay, so now the question is, like, what if it does keep going and pumping like over here, right? How would you know this is gonna come up? You kind of don't, So sometimes you would set up your take profit maybe above this line. So if it breaks all this stuff and it takes it, then go ahead and jump on it. So I probably would have been better putting these traps right above this line somewhere. And sometimes it might flick you in and dump down to it. That does happen. So you gotta be careful. Okay. I don't have a sure way of knowing, for sure. But sometimes these strong moves, once they happen, it kind of happens too quickly, and you're not there for it. Okay. So I would probably just set it. I mean, even though I had a light position, if I set that one trap right there and I only added 871, so I would have had like 1,000 instead of 3,000 right here, because I added one up top. I DCA'd in right down top too. Cause like, oh yeah, it's gonna take it, right? But it didn't. So I added up to these 800 contracts, which made 1,600 plus my whatever, and then I finally loaded up down here to bring this DC back down, which is bad, right? So these are certain things where it's like, oh, bam, 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 all these mistakes, right? You could have done better, and you knew you could have done better. So based on experience, you'll notice that you kind of get, tempted more and more, but then hopefully over time, the temptation subsides, and you're like, don't worry, take my profit, set my DCA maybe midway, and wait for it to come down, and go from there. Okay. All right. Hopefully that helps. Hopefully you don't get tempted, and set your traps a little bit higher, so that if it does really break out, it has to work for it. Okay. All right. We'll talk then.